HDFC Airco General Insurance, हर पल आपके साथ।
Let's look into future India with BP, where energy makes over 1 billion lives better. Energy discovered in the deepest waters and seen even through the rocks. With investments in lubricants, oil, gas and petrochemicals, we'll fuel this future together. BP in India. There is energy in this partnership.
Welcome back to your watching Trading Calls live on ET. Now we've woken up to stable set of global cues. Asian markets are trading with a positive bias. 61.24 for SGX. Crude is up, dollar index is up, but thankfully for us, the tapering fear now globally seems to be getting slightly reduced as US markets last night have managed to inch higher. But back home for Indian markets, things have reversed. Nifty has lost more than 3% in a matter of just 5 days, and we've cracked about 200 points on the Nifty from the recent high. So is the party over, or this is a good time for those to participate who missed on the first leg of the rally? So fundamentally how things stacked up for our markets, let's discuss that with Ajay Bodke. He represents Prabhudas Lilladher Securities. Ajay, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Ajay, I guess my introduction was a question in itself. Do you think the party for Indian markets is over?
I think the Indian markets have had a very good time, and we have seen a nearly 1,000-point rally in the Nifty after sort of the abatement of the fears of tapering starting sooner rather than later. As you mentioned in your opening remarks, I think over the last few days there was again sort of a scare in the global markets due to the extremely strong job numbers that came in the US. Almost double of what was expecting, and in the face of a 19-day shutdown, those numbers are very strong. This essentially is an indicator that the US economy is on a far firmer footing than what the market expected to be, and hence I think it revived the fears of tapering starting some fear even as early as December. Although the consensus clearly is that the tapering should not happen any time earlier than the first quarter of next calendar year. So to the extent that the tapering fears have receded, I think the party in the emerging markets would continue, and especially in the fragile five, as the economists put it, countries like Brazil, Indonesia, South Africa, Turkey and India, I think which have been the biggest beneficiaries of the massive FI inflows on the equity side over the last 2 months. We should expect, I think, the FI flows to continue to remain buoyant. But at the same time, I think fundamentally, I think there are two big hopes that the rally is riding on. The first is that both the consumer and the food inflation, which are near double digits, I think they should start coming off post-harvest, I think a month or so from now. Right. And that should allow RBI sort of, to take a stance which is more conciliatory or more sort of, accommodative. And the second, obviously, is that the 3.5 lakh crores of approvals that the CCI has given, they should start sort of, working its way into the aggregate demand and a pickup in the investment cycle.
Fair point. Ajay, so now that you've sketched the big picture for us, let's talk stocks. Let's talk about something which you track, something which has worked for you. Britannia. They came out with excellent set of numbers yesterday. At Prabhudas Lilladher, you tracked Britannia with a magnifying glass. So based on those numbers, what is the way forward for Britannia, which of late has been a marked outperformer?
Yeah, I think we have been positive in Britannia for last 3 months, Nikunj, and I think we see the positive story continuing in the medium term. Our positive stance essentially was based on the fact that the volume growth has been extremely strong. We have seen pricing power coming back to the company. The value-added products that the company has been launching have been contributing a higher share of the total revenues, and the costs, I think they've been able to keep them under good control. Hence, we have seen a very strong buoyancy in the margins. We see no reason why the same should not continue in the short to medium term. And I think with the rural buoyancy story also playing out, I think FMCG as a sector, we continue to remain very positive, and Britannia and ITC remain our top picks in the FMCG sector, Nikunj.
What about banks then, Ajay? How much more pressure do you, foresee for the banking pact?
I think banking clearly has been a story of two halves. We have seen some of the private sector banks and NBFCs doing exceedingly well, both net interest margins as well as on the NPA front. I think they've been able to push up, declare numbers which have clearly beaten the market expectations. On the PSU banking side, I think we've had some of the PSU banks like Bank of India and UCO Bank, I think, posting numbers which clearly took the market by surprise. And although on the NIMS front, almost all the banks have done better than market expectations. I think on the PSU banking side, it was essentially the focus was on how have the slippages in the current quarter, how have the recoveries been, and overall on the bad assets and the restructured assets front, I think what is the trajectory that one can expect over the next 2 quarters. And there I think there has been a surprise from names like Bank of India and UCO Bank. However, I think we still see pain continuing in pockets in PSU banking sector, which was evident in the numbers that PNB or to an extent even BOB doled out. So I think there one will have to tread very cautiously and start looking at, instead of a whole pack of PSUs, a bottom-up approach, and those managements and those banks which have clearly gotten over the hump of the bad assets and restructured asset problems. I think so that has been, but we continue to remain positive on banks like ING Vysya Bank, on ICICI Bank and Axis Bank. These would remain our top picks because both net interest margin front, on the assets, on the fees, as well as on the NPA front, I think we believe that they offer a very good value with a medium-term perspective.
Yeah, the other stock which you track from the mid-cap or semi-large cap IT space is Tech Mahindra. They've come out with good set of numbers. The stock is looking attractive, but the run-up also has been quite extraordinary. So closer to 1700. Is there some more headroom left for Tech Mahindra?
Yeah, I think almost all the IT stocks have done exceedingly well over a 3-month period because of the weakness in the rupee, as well as the fact that US is the largest market, is in the firmest footing, and most of them have beaten handsomely the broader markets. I think this now is the time to take stock of which stocks from the current levels have the potential to give you beat the markets and give good returns. And there I think the stocks that come to mind clearly is Infosys and Wipro on the large cap space, and in the mid cap space I think although Mindtree has done well, I think we believe that it has the potential to give good returns. In Tech Mahindra front, I think you are right, the run up has been extremely strong, the performance has been equally stellar, but our house view is that I think there's still some more way to run, and maybe at 1900 and 1950 is the price at which we will start again reassessing, I think, the valuations and the growth paradigm and how it looks at that point. So I think we will still wait. We will still some more run to go, and let's not forget that on the margins, I think the rupee has started weakening because as the demand for oil starts coming back into interbank market, I think that pressure is developing. So that's positive again for IT stocks.
Right. Ajay, what explains the weakness in Tata Motors despite what looked like a good set of numbers?
I think, in case of IT, I think the continuing weakness in the commercial vehicles market, although that forms a very small chunk, I think, hardly 20% of the market. But I think the JLR numbers have been in line with expectations or slightly better than expectations. I think in the auto space, I think what has happened here, Tata Motors also has had a very good run. there I think the focus continues to remain on some of the rural buoyancy stories. Companies like Hero Motors and Maruti, I think, continue to be favored among by us in case of auto space. And the focus even next quarter, I think, will continue to remain, in our view, on these two names, Hero Motors and Maruti.
Okay, Ajay, hold on to that thought. We're going to take a very quick break on that note. When we come back, Mitesh Thakkar's trading calls and, of course, the pre-open rates as well today.
Opportunity comes knocking every minute on ET Now. ET Now gives you more stock ideas from the best technical analysts every day and talks to the management of the most promising companies. Breaking stories that impact your investments. Make every opportunity a profit opportunity from 8 to 10:30 a.m. only on ET Now.
2 बिरयानी 2 वेज हांडी 1 दाल मखनी 3 रोटी 2 मिनट में लेके आया सर।
2 मिनट सुन, खाना कल से बना के रखा है क्या? जितना टाइम लगे ले लो, लेकिन खाना अच्छा लाना है।
देखा, आप भी मानते हो कि अच्छे खाने के लिए टाइम देना पड़ता है। अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि म्यूचुअल फंड्स में भी अच्छे रिटर्न्स पाने के लिए टाइम देना पड़ता है, तो आप मानोगे? अरे जानोगे तभी तो मानोगे। तो लॉग ऑन कीजिए janotomano.com पर फ्रॉम बिरला सन लाइफ म्यूचुअल फंड।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
एक नाम तो हर किसी का होता है, पर कुछ लोग अपने नाम को शोहरत की बुलंदियों तक ले जाते हैं। कई रातें काली करनी पड़ती हैं, इतवार कुर्बान करने पड़ते हैं, होली दिवाली सब भुलाने पड़ते हैं। कहना बड़ा आसान है कि मेहनत और लगन से बनता है नाम, पर सच ये है कि हद कर गुजरने से बनता है नाम। और सच ये भी है कि कितना भी बड़ा हो नाम, एक पल में हो सकता है बदनाम। अपने नाम की गरिमा बनाए रखिए, सर्विस टैक्स ना भरने की भूल मत कीजिए। सर्विस टैक्स बीसीएस के चलते भरिए अपना सर्विस टैक्स।
Presenting the Hyundai Grand, the grand new lingo.
Hyundai.
Let's look into future India with BP, where energy makes over 1 billion lives better. Energy discovered in the deepest waters and seen even through the rocks. With investments in lubricants, oil, gas and petrochemicals, we'll fuel this future together. BP in India. There is energy in this partnership.
ET Now, India Economic Conclave, presented by Gujarat NRE, in association with GE and Kantaro. Exchange partner, BSC.
The mission of our company, since we've been here over 100 years now, more or less, is to improve consumers' lives.
It's about people, it's about talent, and it's about market opportunity. And that's all here.
What we are focused on at Xerox is not the slowdown, but the current growth rate, which is real.
We believe that, yes, it is a temporary wait-and-see approach that is not damaging the long-term growth.
Welcome back, little over 8:45. Let's go to Mitesh Thakkar now for some trading ideas.
See, today I think, what I would advise to traders is that we have been falling for 5 days, the Nifty that is, and we are also very close to support areas. So for all the short calls or sell side trades which I have given today or recommended today, I think are sell below, wherein we would want to see some more confirmation from the stock price itself before initiating short position. So the first one is Aditya Birla Nuvo, which is trading close to support areas of 1200, but the pattern is negative. So sell below 1200, keep a stop at 1222, look for targets of around 1160. Bajaj Auto is a sell below 2025 with a stop at 2055 and then look for targets of 1975. Crompton Greaves is a buy with a stop below 102, below 1200, keep a stop at 1222, look for targets of around 1160. Bajaj Auto is a sell below 2025 with a stop at 2055 and then look for targets of 1975. Crompton Greaves is a buy with a stop below 102. I would suggest buying this one for targets of around 112. TV's Lab, which had a very strong price and volume action day, very good breakout on the charts with good news flow, now can be bought with a stop below 1070 for price targets of 1155. And I've got a sell on DLF, again a sell below 146. Then keep a stop at 151, look for targets of around 135.
Ashwini, from the mid-cap pharma space, there are two stars. First Aurobindo and then Divi's. What is the way forward for Aurobindo Pharma and Divi's now?
This is for me?
That's right, Ashwini.
See, Divi's Lab has gone through its own bear market and now it appears it's coming out of that. And chances are, given the way pharmas are moving, Dr. Reddy, Divi's next target could be closer to 1250. And yesterday you got a pretty good indication that it is moving in that direction. Similarly, Aurobindo, above 250, we should look for 320, 325. And maybe, Sun and Lupin could now move sideways, while these other pharma stocks which didn't do as well could take on the mantle now.
One another stock that you would want to look out for is definitely Reliance Industries, and this is something you read in the Economic Times itself this morning, that there is an end of a KGD6 dispute likely. Reliance has now agreed to furnish the bank guarantee. There was a whiff, of course, of this news earlier on yesterday as well, but that didn't quite prop up the stock price. It still languished in trade and was lower by about 1.5%. Mitesh, what is it that you're sensing on the charts for Reliance now?
See, Reliance, I think, broadly has time and again failed to get past levels of 920, 925. So in the short term, it's developed a range, which is around 840, 830 on the downside to about 920 on the upside. We've just corrected from the higher end of the range, and my belief is that we will head towards 840, 835 levels on the downside.
Ajay, let's talk about the big outperformers or winners of 2013. HCL Tech, TCS, Sun Pharma and Bharti. What is the way forward for winners of 2013? Do you think large cap IT, large cap telecom and mid-tier pharma will outperform still?
I think large cap IT certainly will, in our view, outperform because, as I've said, I think the currency tailwinds will benefit them. At the same time, I think both the large markets for them, America as well as Europe, I think the clear green shoots out there. The economy is moving from strength to strength. The US more so than Europe, which is the largest contributor of revenues. And hence from the demand perspective as well as from the margin perspective, I think as the economic growth picks steam in America, I think the pricing power also one is seeing coming back in certain verticals with the IT companies. So you have a good sort of heady mix which can, in our view, lead to outperformance continuing in some of the large cap IT names as well as some of the niche players, as I mentioned, companies like Mindtree and Persistent Systems. In the large cap space, our preference continues to remain with Infosys and Wipro. Insofar as telecom is concerned, I think the regulatory regime has become more supportive. I think we are expecting an auction to happen sometime in January. At the same time, the competitive intensity is expected to come down with consolidation hopefully picking up in the short to medium term in the sector, which will bring back the pricing power. So the telecom space also looks attractive from the medium term perspective. Insofar as pharma space is concerned, I think some of the mid-cap pharma names have started doing well. Our preference, as you were discussing in the previous section with one of the participants, Aurobindo Pharma is a stock that our analyst is very positive on. We're expecting a target price of around 310 in the medium term. And there I think the story essentially, Nikunj, is that the product mix is changing and that sort of should help increase its upside in America. I think their emphasis on injectables, their emphasis on shortage drugs, as well as on the limited competition products in the US, I think will help improve their margins. Their overall margins we are expecting to grow from 14.5% to 17% in FY14, going forward 17.5% in FY15. Their ROEs we are expecting to increase from something like 17.4% in the current year to upwards of 24.4% in the current financial year, and the next financial year to around 26%. And an earnings growth of around 48% in the current year. We are expecting an earnings of around 22 rupees for the current year and 26.5 rupees for next financial year, which is a growth of 21% in FY15. Insofar as valuations are concerned, it is trading at around 11.9 times current year and 9.8 times, which is a discount to its peers.
Okay. That's the call on the pharma space, but couple of important earnings today, and you would want to look out for what Hindalco does. Tata Global Beverages as well would be an interesting one to watch out for. Apollo Hospitals, Reliance Communications as well as Reliance Capital. Mitesh, what's in store on the charts for Tata Global Beverages?
See, I think, Tata Global again has given a short-term breakdown on the charts. It's kind of failed to get past weekly areas of 168, 170 decisively. It's come back to short-term averages. My belief is that 150 to about 145, that's a very strong area on the medium to long-term charts. Would be a good area where some kind of base building and then a move can be triggered from those areas. So I would be looking at accumulating this one on declines to levels below 150.
Ashwini, the other big stock which reversed yesterday completely was Yes Bank. It cracked by about 20 rupees plus, came down on strong volumes. Is the tide or is the trend over for Yes Bank as well?
Well, basically, whenever the tapering story starts, I think Yes Bank tends to, take it very seriously. So basically, that uptrend is over. The entire fall, it's retraced almost about 50 to 60%. So now Yes Bank should head towards levels of 280. Yesterday it kind of picked up momentum. So chances are that a lot of these banks could pick up momentum on the downside now.
Let's also look at IndusInd Bank because historically Yes Bank and IndusInd Bank, they always have moved in sync with each other. So IndusInd Bank also yesterday reversed, but it did not reverse in a meaningful manner. The similarity between Yes Bank and IndusInd Bank are two. They both are dependent on the wholesale end of the market for borrowing money, and both these banks don't have a very strong CASA. In fact, the CASA ratio is way below the industry average of about 30%. Ajay, are you a buyer in Yes Bank? Because even though markets are giving Yes Bank a stepmotherly treatment, they've managed to deliver. And for the quarter gone by, which was a very strong quarter, I think Yes Bank came out with a good set of numbers.
I think the reason for the outperformance, as you mentioned, is clearly that their cost of funding has seen a marked improvement. I think that's where they have got a great relief with the MSF rate further coming down. And the expectation is that I think the liquidity will continue to remain on the stronger side, and hence on the margins, I think their cost of funding will continue to remain on the positive side. That should aid them insofar as their net interest margins are concerned. In case of IndusInd, if you were to ask me, I think their retail franchise also is extremely strong, and retail continues to do far better than the other parts of the business. Credit growth also is very strong for them. So I think my preference there would be on the IndusInd Bank side.
Sasa Sterlite as well, Jay, was one stock in focus after the courts allowed the e-auction of iron ore mining. What's in store for this one, considering the metal space as well has been showing some traction of late?
There our preference remains with the Hindustan Zinc. It's from the same group. Our analyst view is that even if the auction were to go through, I think the contribution of that sale to the total EBITDA of the company is not very significant. So that in itself should not sort of be a factor for one to start looking at the company. In metal space, if one has to take a medium-term call, then I think Hindustan Zinc, because that's where there are a lot of hopes that the minority stake sale, which is pending now for quarters on end, I think it should see some sort of completion, and the government should be able to successfully complete the minority stake sale in favor of Vedanta. That should sort of give a leg up to Hindustan Zinc, and that's why our analyst is positive on Hindustan Zinc. We're expecting a target price of around 150 in the medium term in Hindustan Zinc.
Okay, Ajay, hold on to that thought. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, talk about the pre-open rates this Tuesday morning. Vikas Khemani from Edelweiss as well will join in on the show. Tushar Pradhan from HSBC, Siddharth Sanyal from Barclays to talk about the macro picture.
Now, India Economic Conclave, presented by Gujarat NRE, in association with GE and Kantaro. Exchange partner, BSC.
How about making money on both sides of a volatile market through futures and options? Calls, puts, straddles, strangles are best understood from top analysts who come up with their best strategies. BSC presents the F&O Show. Your money earns supernormal profits each day just by switching on to the F&O Show weekdays only on ET Now.
Presented to you by BSE, Investors Protection Fund. In association with the new Skoda Octavia, bigger, bolder, better.
2 बिरयानी 2 वेज हांडी 1 दाल मखनी 3 रोटी 2 मिनट में लेके आया सर।
2 मिनट सुन, खाना कल से बना के रखा है क्या? जितना टाइम लगे ले लो, लेकिन खाना अच्छा लाना है।
देखा, आप भी मानते हो कि अच्छे खाने के लिए टाइम देना पड़ता है। अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि म्यूचुअल फंड्स में भी अच्छे रिटर्न्स पाने के लिए टाइम देना पड़ता है, तो आप मानोगे? अरे जानोगे तभी तो मानोगे। तो लॉग ऑन कीजिए janotomano.com पर फ्रॉम बिरला सन लाइफ म्यूचुअल फंड।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
ये चिपकाऊं? तेरे वॉल पे चिपकाऊं? चिपका ना। सही चिपका। भी चिपका। हाँ, आंटी क्या बोलेगी?
Easy Clean बर्जर का नॉन स्टिक पेंट विद क्रॉस लिंकिंग पॉलीमर। अब दाग चिपकेगा नहीं, आसानी से जाएगा, रंग नहीं जाएगा।
साफ हो गया। वॉल तो साफ हो गया। फिर तेरा पेट?
No दाग, no धब्बा, only beautiful walls.
ये स्विट्जरलैंड में हनीमून का 4.5 लाख कहाँ से आएगा? थाईलैंड भेज दें?
एक्स्ट्रा सामान मतलब एक्स्ट्रा पैसा। क्लिक अपलोड योर एड, सेल OLX.in, बेच दे।
HDFC Ergo जनरल इंश्योरेंस, हर पल आपके साथ।
Presenting the Hyundai Grand, the grand new Lingo.
Hyundai.
पैसे बढ़ाने में बहुत मेहनत लगती है, चाहे वो गोल्ड, शेयर्स, म्यूचुअल फंड्स या इंश्योरेंस। इसलिए मैं सुनता हूँ सिर्फ अपने दिमाग की, ताकि फैमिली की खुशियों के लिए मैं सुनूं सिर्फ अपने दिल की। हैप्पी एनिवर्सरी SMC, इंडिया अवार्ड विनिंग ब्रोकर जो रखे आपके निवेश का ख्याल। SMC, मनी वाइज बी वाइज।
Welcome back. We've woken up to decent and stable set of global cues. It was a record close for US markets last night. Asian markets are trading with a positive bias, and SGX is telling us that after 5 days of a straight line decline, we could be in for a flat start. But looking at the recent price action, surely this market has lost momentum. There are too many opinions floating around on why US Fed could advance tapering, which in a sense is fueling on some risk-off trade. But the redeeming feature here is that even though there is a visible fear about tapering, foreigners are still buying into Indian stocks, and more than foreign flows, it's the DI selling which is a clear concern. So locals are selling this market down, and retail investors are simply redeeming the units. So that is the big gray area. But for the moment, I would say the